Later tonight, we'll finally have the opportunity to watch Blizzard's online 2021 BlizzCon event, which we know they'll be using primarily to talk about their upcoming games, namely Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4. Since recent events led to Blizzard canceling their normal in-person BlizzCon event, which was supposed to happen last November, it was naturally rescheduled and reformatted to be an online-only event, free and accessible to all, both on their website and on the official Blizzard YouTube and Twitch channels. And of course, one of the more hyped-up things we expect to hear about tonight is more information on the long-awaited Overwatch 2. I have a lot of love for Overwatch. It may not look like it if you judge me by my channel's output, but I actually have a lot of respect for Overwatch. It's probably one of my favorite online first-person shooter games outside of Team Fortress 2. If you were to ask me which one I love more of the two, I'm not sure if I'd be easily able to answer that question. I've got a lot of fond memories from TF2 playing on my own community servers, developing friendships, some of which I still maintain to this day, and having those moments that you'll just always remember. So that game will always have a place in my heart for that reason. But when Valve decided to start putting the brakes on TF2's development and leaving it only with a skeleton staff and maybe putting out 1 or 2 major updates a year on average, I saw the writing on the wall and hopped ship over to Overwatch in 2016. I was a day one buyer. I literally pre-ordered the game the same day it ultimately came out, after I'd seen hours of gameplay. Overwatch looked like it had a ton of amazing potential. You have this amazing new world presented with an absolutely gorgeous art style. Credit to the Overwatch animation team, they know their shit, with an entire cast of identifiable and memorable characters who each had their own personality and storytelling potential. I was hooked, just like everyone else. You have a first-person shooter game that incorporates elements of a MOBA from a world-renowned developer and publisher who has a long history of producing excellent, high-caliber online service-type games, which usually have incredibly long lifespans and fantastic post-launch support. Blizzard even had added advantage of utilizing their internal Blizzard animation team, as I mentioned before, to create amazingly well-crafted short animated films on several of their core Overwatch heroes. Blizzard promised this world wouldn't be just limited to the game, but they also announced plans to expand the Overwatch universe in every possible way, all the while likewise promising to deliver new in-game content and events on a regular basis to keep players invested in the game's long-term future. Fast forward almost 5 years, where are we now? Blizzard has been recycling the same 6 seasonal events for the past 5 years, and almost every single year recycling the same exact content for each event. Oh, sure, we might get a new legendary or epic cosmetic skin, and maybe we'll get a slightly reworked Lucio Ball map, or a new difficulty option or a challenge variant for one of the annual PvE co-op maps, but the rest is really all the same for the most part. As far as new heroes go, in 2020 we only got 1 in total compared to the usual 3 to 4 we get in any given year. In regards to new animated shorts, we haven't got 1 in almost 3 years, not since 2018. And for the record, I'm not including that Overwatch 2 promo video we got last year, since that was promotional stuff for Overwatch 2, not the original game. In Blizzard's promises about expanding Overwatch into other markets and platforms, they canceled their first official graphic novel at the very last minute. It was listed on Amazon, and one day Blizzard just snapped a finger, like Thanos, and suddenly it was gone. We've been hearing for almost 4 years about an official Overwatch animated TV show that was supposed to be in development for Netflix, but likewise that's failed to materialize as well. What I want from Overwatch 2, and from the Overwatch brand IP in general, bare minimum, is for Blizzard to stop fucking around and instead actually fulfill the promises they made to us as a community as far back as 6 years ago when they initially revealed Overwatch. Now I think Blizzard knows that there's a lot of confusion and concern about Overwatch 2. Specifically the concern that this sequel will actually be more like a PvE expansion rather than a full game. And I think Blizzard is working really hard behind the scenes to prove us wrong there. I think their almost complete silence on Overwatch 2 up till now has been a good thing. Now who knows what we'll actually see at Blizzcon tonight and possibly tomorrow, but I'm still holding out hope that Overwatch 2 will fully warrant its status as a sequel. So on a more positive note, I thought it'd be fun to speculate about what features might or might not be cool to see added to Overwatch 2. Just to be clear, I have no way of knowing whether these are going to be added, for sure. I'm just inferring based on what the Overwatch team have previously mentioned, as well as drawing off some of the comments made on Activision's recent shareholders meeting. Also, some of these are just my own ideas, and I have no way of knowing if any of them will actually make it into the game, but still, it's a fun list. I'll be running through this list in order of most likely to least likely, but I still believe there is a chance that most of these will probably appear in Overwatch 2 at some point anyway. The main difference being that some of the ones near the end of the list, the ones that are least likely in my opinion, may be added in potentially like months or years after the Overwatch 2 initial launch. First up, we turn our attention to the monetization system. I strongly believe, for a multitude of reasons, including both legal reasons and PR reasons, we will not be seeing the return of loot boxes in Overwatch 2. I find it incredibly likely that Activision Blizzard will instead implement some other form of monetization that hasn't quite attracted the same degree of scorn and pushback as loot boxes have internationally. There's been public evidence of Blizzard sending out select user surveys, attempting to gauge player interest specifically in regards to implementing features such as seasonal battle passes and a paid item shop, similar to those we've seen in games like Fortnite or Dauntless. Personally, I can't say I'd mind if Overwatch 2 went the battle pass route. I play a decent amount of Overwatch day to day, not as much as I used to be honest, but I still put in a few hours per week. Having a reason to grind for team wins in competitive or quick play, like unlocking new skins, voice lines, sprays, etc., definitely incentivizes me to double down in that regard. I love the small little weekly challenges that they put out every few months where you unlock a character skin or a spray or whatever by just playing the game. It's fun. Battle passes reward players for extensive play and skilled play, and that seems far preferable to me compared to the current loot box system, which just mainly rewards players for just gambling a lot of money in exchange for uncertain rewards. Following up on that in regards to the item shop, specifically, which was next on my list anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if we got daily and weekly item rotations, where after a certain period of time, the current available premium items and potentially bundles were all swapped out for a new set of items for players to buy. Character skins and sprays aren't exactly difficult for the Overwatch team to make, especially if we're just mainly talking about uncommon or rare skins, and maybe the occasional legendary skin. Look how many skins they shoveled out to promote the Overwatch League. By the way, look how well that turned out. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a lot more skins like that in-game in the future. I'm kind of indifferent to the whole item shop idea. It's not quite as interesting to me as the Battle Pass system would be, but again, it's better than loot boxes, so ultimately I'm fine with it. Next up, we have a new feature that Blizzard has hinted at being added in Overwatch 2, which we may have seen an early glimpse at in the Havana map we got roughly a year ago. That being having a new potentially randomized dynamic weather system for all Overwatch 2 maps. We've already seen Blizzard put out a ton of map reskins and seasonal variants in the past, like the Hollywood Halloween variant and the Kings Row Christmas reskin. I don't think it would be surprising if we got an evolution of that system where potentially either at launch or as post-launch content, we saw a dynamic weather being added to all maps, and likewise having day and night variations of existing maps. Creating a new in-game weather system would require a lot of work, but since we already know that Blizzard already has a dynamic weather system in place, it's not so much a question of adding a new system as just elaborating and expanding upon the existing system and adding in backward compatibility for previously released maps. Effectively, we're talking about a minor remaster for the older maps, which isn't that developmentally challenging compared with creating entirely new maps. Do I think we're going to see all those newly updated maps available at launch? No, but over time I'd say probably. Next up is a big one for both PC and console players, and that being crossplay. I'm not going to beat around the bush on this one. Do I think we're going to get full crossplay for a quick play or a comp? No, absolutely not. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to create way too many problems as far as PvP gameplay goes. When you have all your players divided on either PC or console, I just think that creates too many problems. But I wouldn't be surprised if the new co-op portion of Overwatch 2 ends up supporting crossplay. I don't think Blizzard will go so far as to enhance the crossplay experience by allowing for cross-saving player or character progress, or allowing achievements to transfer from one platform to the other, but adding in basic crossplay functionality without those additional add-on treats, I'd say it's pretty plausible at the least. Another fairly plausible feature that's been hinted at directly by Jeff Kaplan and other Overwatch developers is the idea of giving players more agency over map selection. I'm fairly confident that Overwatch 2, probably at launch or shortly thereafter, will bring with it a new map voting or map selection system, maybe both. This will probably only apply to quick play and arcade game modes. I do not believe for a moment it'll extend to competitive. To give an example of how I think this will be implemented, players would be able to, when preparing to queue up for a quick play match, they'll be able to pick what game mode they want to play, whether that be Control Point, King of the Hill, Payload, etc. Then after selecting their preferred mode or modes, they could pick out what maps they wanted out of the available map pool for each respective mode that they want to play on. To help ensure players aren't waiting in queue for lengthy periods of time, Blizzard would probably implement a system where players would be required to pick at least, say, 3 maps from their preferred game mode, as opposed to, just like one, because no one wants to sit there waiting for a game for like 25 minutes. Not very practical, and it puts too much strain on the system. As far as map voting goes, that's a lot more straightforward. Plenty of FPS games like Team Fortress 2 and CSGO already have map voting as a feature, where at the end of a match all players in both teams vote collectively to keep playing together and pick what map out of a random pool of like 2 to 4 maps they want to play on next. It's really not a difficult feature to add, and I would be surprised if we didn't see some version of map selection and map voting added to Overwatch 2. Moving on to other quality of life features, I think it would be really interesting if, for the PvP side of the game, Blizzard ended up deciding to scrap the account leveling system in favor of a hero level system, similar to what another hero shooter by the name of Paladins has done for years now, or like what most MOBAs in general have been doing for easily the past decade. One of the things that the Overwatch team has really prioritized over the past several years is providing players more information about their time spent in-game. We've seen many expansions and reiterations of the statistics system. We've gotten a proper replay system. Players can see what heroes other players on their team play most often, etc. Information transparency has long been a goal for Blizzard, and I think this would be a tremendous step forward in this area. Instead of just telling me that a player is account level 235, which doesn't give me much info to go off of as a teammate, I'd love it if instead I saw that my teammate was a level 47 Reinhardt, or a level 22 Roadhog. Sure, I could just dive into his personal player stats, but that would require hopping back and forth around the menu interface, and that takes time I could have been spending in the actual match contributing alongside my team. Comparatively, just clicking the tab button to look at the normal stats screen and having all that in front of me would make planning and teamwork slightly easier. Next up, we have weekly PvE challenge modes. Overwatch already has a pretty decent weekly rotation system in regards to the Overwatch arcade, alternating between the different game modes to keep things slightly fresh at all times. I strongly believe we're going to see even more of that in Overwatch 2. I would not be surprised if every day you log in, the selection of game modes might fluctuate somewhat, but that may just be wishful thinking. However, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Blizzard will be expanding upon the kinds of special PvE challenges we've already seen in the Overwatch Archives seasonal event, or likewise with the Junkenstein's Revenge Halloween seasonal update. Given that there inevitably is going to be a finite limit of PvE missions and PvE maps, creating new twists on the existing formula is an easy way for developers to increase the mode's replay value. I think it's safe to say that some version of this will be added to the game, and I would say probably at launch. Since we're back on the subject of PvE anyway, another thing I'd say is on the somewhat likely end of the spectrum of ideas is Blizzard mimicking the Fortnite and Call of Duty model by tying the new Overwatch 2 Battle Pass system to the release of new game-changing major updates. I think it's possible we'll see new PvE campaign missions drop at the beginning of every new Battle Pass release. That said, as a result of that, I think the length of the Overwatch 2 Battle Pass will be substantially longer than, say, the Fortnite Battle Pass. Fortnite's Battle Pass seasons last about 60 days, whereas I think Overwatch 2's Battle Pass will go for a 90-day model. 4 PvE updates a year may sound like a lot to you, but I'm not expecting Overwatch 2's main campaign to be all that long. I honestly believe we're looking at maybe 3 to 4 hours of content at most, including the in-game cinematics. And I think one of the reasons Overwatch 2 got delayed was because Activision wanted Team 4, the Overwatch team, to create more PvE content than they originally intended, with the goal of having Overwatch 2's live service lifespan more closely resemble what we already see in Call of Duty Black Ops 4, for example, another Activision game. I should note that I have absolutely no evidence to support that hunch, so take it as you will. But Activision tends to reuse concepts from previous popular games if they work, especially if those concepts lead to increased revenue growth, while simultaneously not requiring an unreasonable increase in development costs. And creating more live service content for an existing game is far easier and cheaper than creating a new sequel from scratch, and I don't think we're going to see Overwatch 3 come out anytime soon. One thing I think we'll absolutely see at Blizzcon is more information on character skill trees. We already know that the PvE side of Overwatch 2 will feature character skill trees, as several of the new character skill trees have already been shown off at the 2019 Blizzcon event. Jeff Kaplan has confirmed that the skill trees shown were still very early in the works as of 2019, and that Team 4 was planning to continue refining and reiterating upon that system over time. I'm hoping that this year, well, tonight, we'll see more of that, and hopefully the number of skills won't be so minimalistic as they were in 2019. Once again, I think it's pretty likely we'll get new information on this specifically, since it was one of the most important new PvE-related features. On a side note, this would be a nice PvE-related quality of life feature that I don't think will be fully implemented, but I'm going to mention anyway. I'd love to see an evolution of the existing character voice line interaction system to allow for unique PvE-specific character interactions for any combination of characters currently available in the game. I don't want voice line interactions to only exist for the main 4 story-required heroes, but also fully implemented in any all-heroes variant of the PvE maps. Every year we get the Overwatch Archives event, we get usually a few new PvE hero interactions for heroes being played in all-heroes mode. I think it would really add to the immersion and world building if all or most of the characters had unique PvE voice line interactions with the other characters. Now we move on to the PvP side of the game. I would love to see Blizzard add a proper level editor or map maker to the game, and allow the community to create their own custom maps, which they could then play on and share with other users in the custom match server listings. I don't know if it would be a good idea to make a completely sophisticated map maker, like how Source Games have been using the now archaic Hammer program, but I think at bare minimum it'd be nice to get an easy-to-use Mario Maker-like interface that allows users to create maps using any pre-existing Overwatch assets. And given how Blizzard likes to keep tight creative control over their IPs, I think honestly this is probably the best we're likely to get. And I actually do think it's somewhat likely that we may get something like this, but probably not at launch, but at some point following Overwatch 2's release. Blizzard has repeatedly said in the past that Overwatch in its current state isn't really designed to support a map maker, but it is entirely possible that they may have designed Overwatch 2 to be a little bit more flexible in this regard. And now we have two final gameplay-related features I think we'll hear about, probably, whether at BlizzCon or at some point prior to launch. The first of which is cosmetic loadouts. Hero customization isn't going to be going anywhere in Overwatch 2, I promise you that. One thing that a lot of people have been asking for is for players to have the ability to create their own cosmetic loadouts for each hero, where they can pick and choose different aspects from different skins. Instead of having both the character and gun skins be arbitrarily bound to each other in one combo package, allow players to make any combination of the two from their pool of unlocked cosmetics. And the final of the two is a big one, and I'm not even sure it's something we'll see in the final game, and that is more official quick play and competitive game modes. The existence of minor spin-off game modes in the Overwatch arcade interface is a good one, and I'm not trying to belittle it or discredit it, but at the end of the day, not many people play those game modes compared to those that jump into a quick play or competitive match. Now, what modes would I personally love to see added? I wouldn't mind if Overwatch borrowed a bit from older games like TF2, CSGO, or Battlefield, and have a domination game mode where both teams fight to maintain control over multiple control points in a single, slightly larger scale map. Maybe you can even raise the max player cap and make it a 9v9 game mode with 3 tanks, 3 DPS, and 3 supports. We've seen that Blizzard is willing to alter the number of players for certain game modes. The question is, would Blizzard be open to increasing the current max number of players for a new game mode, rather than decreasing it? I think it's possible, assuming they have plans to make Overwatch 1 and potentially Overwatch 2's PvP side free to play, but it's unlikely at best. And here are two more, in general, Overwatch-related things we'll see announced at BlizzCon this year, or announced in the months to come. A new Overwatch 2 cinematic, I think is absolutely a given. Every year at BlizzCon, we end up seeing some new Overwatch-related cinematic go live. So the likelihood of that tradition being honored once again in 2021, I would say, is incredibly likely. With everything going on in the world and a lot of people working from home, is it possible that we might not get a proper cinematic short, but maybe an in-game rendered one like the Roadhog and Junkrat short we saw slightly ahead of the release of Junkertown? Possibly, but also take into account that BlizzCon was delayed from its initial November launch, so they've had more time than normal to work on this animated short, so it's possible we may get our usual cinematic short without a hitch. Either way, I'd be very surprised if we didn't get something from the Blizzard animation team tonight at BlizzCon. And secondly, in this separate category, and I don't expect anyone listening to this is going to like this any more than I do, but I still think it's within the realm of possibility that we may see the announcement of a new Overwatch-branded mobile game. Maybe it'll be like some kind of MOBA like League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm, or maybe we'll get another XCOM-like turn-based tactical strategy game. Lord knows XCOM ripoffs are all the rage on the iOS store. I don't think said game will launch in 2021, but I wouldn't be surprised if Blizzard released it alongside Overwatch 2 early next year. So there we are, that's my wish list of things that I think will be shown off or mentioned at BlizzCon tonight and tomorrow, as well as things I would love to see in Overwatch 2 in general, even if not all of them are likely to be implemented anytime soon, if at all. I'll be curious to hear what you expect to hear and hope to hear about Overwatch 2 tonight in the comments down below. But on that note, that's where I'm going to wrap it up for today. If you want to support the work I do in this channel, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell to get notified when I upload new videos. I've been trying to upload at least twice a week now compared to last year when I mostly did one video a week, so now you get more content than ever. Last year I pledged that if I crossed 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I would donate $50 to Team Trees, a non-profit charity that focuses on planting new trees in areas of deforestation, reducing our carbon footprint and increasing air quality. This year I plan to double that goal. If we hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of this year, I will donate an additional $100 to Team Trees. I honestly believe in making a difference in the world, so as I grow, so will my end-of-year donations. And by subscribing and preferably clicking the bell for notifications, you'll help me edge closer to fulfilling my new end-of-year commitment. Thank you as ever to those of you that have already subscribed to the channel. Your continued support as ever really enables me to continue pursuing that which I love doing, so I'm eternally grateful to you. This is Warrior Dan signing out. Stay awesome, everybody. Stay safe and peace out.
Oh, rip.
What the hell happened there?
Pressed the wrong button and threw my bomb on myself.